does the heritability in these traits differ between males and females?
No. And it's just whenever people describe a difference, it never replicates. And it's very interesting. I mean, the one study I published that didn't replicate was trying to say that the heritability of some personality trait was stronger for males and females. There's some reason to think from biological developmental work that boys follow the genetic blueprint to a greater extent than girls. But anytime anyone ever reports it, it never replicates. And that's especially astounding when you look at things with huge sex differences. Like the biggest sex differences in terms of psychopathology are for these early childhood disorders like autism and ADHD, both of which are much worse in boys than girls. And so you'd expect to find genetic differences. But first, you're probably thinking of the X and Y chromosome. You know, girls are XX and boys are XY. Not much to that. And then it's you know, you just can't find genes that differ. That it's the same genes that are affecting boys and girls. So I don't know much about it, but the way I think about it, it's just that there's one gene that determines whether you're a boy or a girl, you know, basically early in development. But that triggers a cascade of hormonal changes, including brain changes. And so the way I think about it is maybe the same genes are affecting, say, cognitive ability in boys and girls, but it's just they have different effects in these boy brains and girl brains. But it's a good question. But yep, so I think it's safe to say that we hardly ever find differences other than at the single gene level, because if there's a lot of disorders are on the X chromosome, and because girls have two X chromosomes, a mutation on one is masks. But if boys get that mutation on their X chromosome, the Y is a tiny chromosome that doesn't compensate. So that's why a lot of sex linked disorders on the X chromosome are more prevalent in boys than in girls. But that's, again, a single gene thing. And we're not talking about single genes here.
Is there any disparity between female and male twins? Like, is there any differences there, or are they exactly the same in
Great
prevalence?
question. Because a neat thing about the twin method is the comparability of identical and fraternal twins. But of course, identical twins are always the same sex, except for a few, 1 in a million cases where there was some mutation early in the embryological development, but they're the same sex. So what about fraternal twins? Well, they're 50% same sex and 50% different sex because, it's just a probability thing. It's like boys and, the chances of having a boy or a girl, 50-50. So having 2 girls, 2 boys. So it's a better experiment if you compare same-sex identical twins, always same-sex, to the same-sex fraternal twins. But then what about the opposite-sex fraternal twins? Well, they get at exactly what you're talking about. You can say, if there's genetic differences between boys and girls, you would predict that the opposite-sex fraternal twins are less similar than the same-sex fraternal twins. They both are 50% similar genetically, but if there's different genes affecting boys and girls, you'd expect that correlation to be lower for opposite-sex twins, and you don't find that. So that's another piece of evidence.
It's very interesting. It's kind of funny how nature sort of by random accident gave us twins, and just by nature of how twins work, we've been able to conclude loads of things about nature just by the set of variables that twins kind of...
If you enjoyed that short podcast clip, then I'm so confident you will enjoy even more the full conversation. You can click it here. Click it. Come on. You know you want to. Click it.